In 1931, the three Bondurant brothers, Howard as the eldest, Forrest the middle child, and Jack the youngest, ran a fairly successful illegal liquor business in Franklin County, Virginia. Jack recounts that Forrest always believed they couldn't die. This belief stemmed from Howard's experience of seeing his entire battalion drown, with him as the sole survivor. That same year, Forrest and their parents were struck by the Spanish flu, and once again, only four survived. From these experiences came the conviction that they were invincible.
My brother Forrest once said, "Nothing can kill us. We can't never die."
Since 1920, prohibition laws had officially banned alcohol, making its sale illegal. However, in practice, these laws were not fully enforced. Even law enforcers like the sheriff secretly bought alcohol from them.
Right there?
Thanks, boys.
Always happy to oblige an officer of the law.
Franklin County was even known as the wettest place in the world because nearly everyone made their own whiskey. The alcohol sold by the Bondurant family could be made from whatever ingredients were available, and that was one of the reasons Forrest was so confident. Their illegal activities were disguised behind a gas station and a small diner they ran, with the help of Cricket, Jack's friend who had skills in mechanics and alcohol distillation. One night, while making a delivery, Jack was told to stay in the car while Forrest and Howard went in first. But out of curiosity, Jack peeked in and ended up facing a robber who threatened him. Fortunately, Forrest and Howard arrived just in time to save him.
You put that knife away, take you and your friends on home.
You hand over that cash, or I'm gonna cut some daylight into you. You just sold a load of those dingies in there, didn't you?
Go! Yep. Damn. You out there, Jack? Just caught me off guard as well.
After that incident, they went to a party to sell the remaining goods, and there, Jack started to become interested in Bertha, the daughter of a local preacher. Howard warned him to be careful if he planned to get close to the girl.
So crowbar, Jack, you wanna get inside her?
She don't look that great.
The next day, Forrest met a woman named Maggie Beaufort who came to their diner and offered to work as a waitress. Forrest was curious as to why a woman like Maggie came to such a remote place. Maggie explained that she wanted to start a new life after facing many hardships in the big city. It turned out Maggie was a former dancer who was now struggling financially and hoped to live a quieter life. Forrest eventually agreed to hire Maggie to work at their place.
Do I get the job?
Sometime later, Jack accidentally witnessed a notorious bootlegger named Floyd Banner shoot two federal agents in broad daylight. After Banner left, Jack picked up a bullet casing and gave one to Cricket as a lucky charm. Cricket then showed Jack a new storage system he had created to make the alcohol production process easier, using hidden pipes. Soon after, their business attracted the attention of Marshal Charlie Rakes from Chicago, who arrived with Sheriff Pete and a corrupt prosecutor named Mason Wardell. They offered a profit-sharing deal to keep the business running smoothly, but Forrest firmly rejected the offer. He also warned them not to send anyone like Rakes again unless they wanted trouble.
I'm the one who's going to make your life real difficult from now on if you don't toe the line, country boy.
Don't you ever touch me again. You send your clown with the bow tie around here again, and I guarantee you'll personally pull a cleaver out of his fucking skull. You understand me?
That night, Forrest held a meeting with other bootleggers to discuss the offer. While most felt threatened, Forrest stood firm in refusing to pay anyone, even if Wardell were replaced. He urged them to unite against pressure from the authorities, but none dared join him. The next morning, Sheriff Pete tried to warn Rakes not to escalate the situation, but Rakes was even more determined to take down Forrest, especially after learning Forrest believed himself to be unbreakable. This marked the beginning of an open war between Forrest Bondurant and Marshall Rakes. Meanwhile, Jack grew frustrated because Forrest wouldn't let him get involved in the business. He wasn't even allowed to touch the alcohol. Feeling underestimated, Jack broke the rules. He drank a bottle and went to church just to see Bertha, but ended up embarrassing himself and ran away, although the girl seemed to be developing an interest in him. On the way home, Jack stopped by Cricket's house and accidentally saw Rakes searching for information about the Bondurant family. Without much warning, Rakes beat Jack severely as a warning to his two older brothers.
Hard-boiled sons of bitches. Just won't do.
I'll get you. I'll kill you.
We're coming for them next.
No more.
Don't touch me!
When Forrest found out, he told Jack that if he truly wanted to be involved in the business, he needed to be ready to face the risks. Still, Forrest was disappointed that Jack allowed himself to be beaten without fighting back. The next day, Rake's men came to the diner and tried to intimidate them, but Howard immediately stepped out and beat them up for daring to bother his brother.
Huh? Howard! You gonna hurt my brother? Are you trying to intimidate us, Sheriff? Bondurant. All right.
When the fight got out of hand, Forrest stopped Howard and asked Rake's men to send his regards to their boss. That night, Maggie returned to her apartment but was confronted by Rakes, who lived in the same building and tried to pry into her past as a dancer. Maggie firmly told him to move aside. The next day, Howard was preparing for a shipment and was asked by Forrest to return before 11 p.m. because an out-of-town buyer was coming. Howard assured him he had never let his brother down.
I seen him swanning around in Daddy's old suit.
Meanwhile, Jack, wearing their father's old suit, went to see Bertha. Although warned that her father would be furious, Jack boldly spoke with her before running off to avoid being caught. That night at the diner, Forrest realized Howard hadn't returned. He asked Cricket to close up with Maggie. As Forrest stepped out, he saw Maggie being harassed by two drunk men and beat them up.
Far.
Maybe.
Right now. Sorry.
After the diner closed and Maggie was about to head home, Forrest was ambushed by the same two men, who slashed his throat and left him nearly dead. Luckily, Maggie had come back to find him and saved his life, although she herself was beaten and assaulted by the attackers, an incident she kept from Forrest to prevent him from seeking revenge. While Forrest was in the hospital, Maggie brought him his bag, and although upset by the situation, she was relieved he survived. She then told him she would be leaving. Realizing he had grown fond of Maggie and that this place was not as peaceful as she hoped, Forrest asked her to stay at the diner for safety, at least until the attackers were dealt with. Later, Jack tried to convince Howard that he had a way to sell the remaining liquor and retire, but Howard was still too angry about letting Forrest down. Jack realized that provoking Rakes further would only bring more trouble, especially after what happened to Forrest. He went to the hospital and stole the storage shed key, then asked Cricket to help sell the remaining stock. Midway, their car ran out of fuel, but Cricket managed to replace it with alcohol, and they continued.
Forrest, you gonna hear me out?
During the transaction, they were ambushed by Floyd Banner's men. Desperate, Jack claimed to be a bondurant, which surprisingly saved them because Banner respected the bondurants for standing up to rakes. Jack was paid a large sum, and Banner gave him a slip of paper with the address of Forrest attackers, revealing they were former bootleggers now working as deputy marshals under rakes in exchange for immunity. Jack proudly returned and showed Forrest the money, then handed him the note. He took his share and suggested they take revenge that very night. With the money from his sale, Jack bought a camera and a new car, then went to see Bertha and took her picture. They took turns photographing each other. But when Jack returned home, Forrest and Howard had already left for revenge without him. Maggie tried to stop him, but Jack followed them anyway. Upon arriving, he found his brothers had tortured and killed the attackers. Wanting to be part of it, Howard gave Jack one of the victim's testicles to deliver to Rakes. The next morning, Rakes heard a knock and found a jar containing the organ. Over the next few weeks, Banner became a regular customer. Jack and Cricket officially joined the team and began making deliveries, often chased by police. But Rakes didn't give up. He destroyed all their distilling equipment, prompting them to reinvest their profits into building a new still deep in the woods. Cricket also modified their vehicles to outrun the police. Meanwhile, Jack continued to pursue Bertha, though always chased off by her father. The other bootleggers eventually gave in and partnered with Wardell, except for the bondurant's cousin, Spoons, who was later tortured by Rakes. One night, Maggie, who had grown fond of Forrest, got tired of him standing guard every night. She went to his room and they made love. The next day, they were shocked to find Spoon's body, nearly dead and covered in chicken feathers, a message from Rakes. Jack then picked up Bertha in his new car, gave her a dress to wear, and took her to the secret distillery. Unbeknownst to them, they were followed by Rakes and his men. Upon arrival, Cricket was uneasy about Jack bringing Bertha, but Jack thought it was the best way to show her who he was. Suddenly, Rakes and his men attacked. Jack told Cricket and Bertha to run while he distracted the attackers. Howard, nearby, helped eliminate some of them, giving them a chance to escape. Unfortunately, Cricket and Bertha were captured. Bertha was taken home, while Cricket was brought to a remote location and murdered by Rakes.
Why do you want me to go in there?
The entire still was then destroyed. At the diner, Jack apologized, but Forrest was furious. Just then, Howard arrived with news of Cricket's death, devastating Jack. At Cricket's funeral, Jimmy tried to console Forrest, but was rejected for previously betraying them to Wardell. Jack was heartbroken and sat in Cricket's car all night. The next morning, he heard a horn and stepped out. The sheriff had come to say they weren't involved in Cricket's death. He also warned that Rakes had set up a roadblock on the bridge, and Wardell was preparing to bring in federal agents to arrest all bootleggers. Without hesitation, Jack grabbed a gun and drove off in Cricket's car. Howard saw him and called for Forrest to follow. Maggie begged Jack not to go and admitted she was the one who had taken Forrest to the hospital, making him realize she had also been a victim that night. At the bridge, Jack was shot by Rakes before he could react.
Rakes! I want stupid boy! Put down your weapon!
Howard and Forrest arrived, and a shootout began. Forrest was shot multiple times, and their driver was killed. The sheriff tried to calm the situation, and other bootleggers arrived with guns drawn on the police. Yet Rakes still shot Forrest, prompting the sheriff to shoot Rakes in the leg.
Hey, everybody! Candy-ass mother! Give it Forrest some duty!
Enraged, grabbed a gun and chased him with Howard in tow. Due to his wounds, Rakes couldn't get far. Jack shot him, but he was still alive until Howard stabbed him from behind. Around December, Prohibition officially ended, and Wardell was arrested for corruption. The three Bondurants lived peacefully. Jack married Bertha, Forrest married Maggie, and Howard settled down with a woman from Martinsville. All of them now worked legally. About 10 years later, during a family gathering at Jack's house, a drunken Forrest walked onto a frozen lake and fell through the ice. Though he managed to climb out, he died of pneumonia, ending the legend that he could not die. The film ends.